the evening of January 28th, fire swept through a 100-year-old apartment building in San Francisco. It took firefighters 4 hours to extinguish the fire that caused $8 million in damage to this classic building in the heart of the Mission. 1 man died in the fire, another 54 have lost their homes.
When I looked up at the ceilings, I never saw any sprinklers, and our fire alarms weren't working either. Everything happened so quickly, so the only thing I was worried about at the moment was trying to get my brother and my dog out, and including everyone else.
More than 30 victims are staying here at the Salvation Army Center in the Mission, where social workers are available to talk and help.
This way we can give people at least a foothold on recovery, because the folks in this situation have lost everything. The Mission Street building is total destruction, so most of these folks are coming out with just what they had on their backs the night of the fire.
Humberto Lopez and his wife Elvira lived in the building for almost 40 years. They lost more than just clothing and furniture.
Toda la documentación, las actas de nacimiento, mi pasaporte, todo se quedó ahí, todo. Todos los documentos se quedaron ahí adentro.
The fire also destroyed several businesses, including news service Mission Local, which started at UC Berkeley. Editor LYDIA CHAVEZ says the residents' losses put the destruction of her office in perspective.
We haven't lost our homes. And I thought about that the night the night of the fire. You go to bed and you think, my God, people don't have a bed to go in.
Right.
It's really serious.
Many of those now staying at the Salvation Army lived in the building a long time, with rents that were relatively low.
Well, I have been living there all my life, 17 years, and so all the memories that we were able to make there, and all of our pictures, and
They now face the real possibility that they'll have to move out of San Francisco in order to find affordable housing once again. For CNS, this is Ellie Schmidt-Hopper.
Today is moving day for Heather Stewart.
Stressful to think about having to pick my container up and move it.
All her possessions are inside this container. But this container isn't just filled with belongings from her home. It is her home. Heather has lived in this 160 square foot container for 2 years and paid $1,500 for it. In this building, there is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment with 668 square foot of living. The monthly rent is just over $1,700.
The idea of owning a house in Oakland is just impossible. And that shouldn't be the decision that people have to make. And you shouldn't have to decide to either pay rent or be in debt for the next 60 years.
Shipping containers are sold online and can be delivered to you. Last year, a company made over $1 million in sales. Aaron Gieman's container is not just his home, it's also his office.
Until I have the money to buy land, I'm pretty happy here. I can do metal work in the middle of the night. The largest problem I would say is me, because I never did anything to make it cozy. But other than that, it's lots of space.
Aaron parks his container outside a warehouse for $200 per month. But here's the problem. The Alameda Healthy Homes Department states that ventilation issues is a concern. But the biggest one is the lead paint used in containers. Lead paint has not been banned for commercial use.
I think this is for sure an illegal domicile. We're in a really bad neighborhood, so it would be pretty strange if suddenly they started cracking down on things like my shipping container living as opposed to the rampant drugs and prostitution that's happening right outside the gate.
Heather knows that her container living is also illegal.
Doing something legally would have taken a really long time and cost a lot of money, and because we need permits that don't exist because the housing option has never existed. At this point in time, really, it's a matter of hiding from inspectors.
For CNS, I'm Daniela Anaya.
When I think of Vallejo, I think of music.
I wanna be a hero, someone who won't compromise.
Got a little scary for a while, and downtown just fell apart. After Mary Island closed, the town turned into a little gangster city, and now it's starting to come back. We're starting to bring family back, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I'm gonna strive to achieve all that's inside me. Wanna be a better man.
And when I think of Vallejo, I think of the place I grew up. It doesn't look like it on the surface, but it has problems. Across from the beautiful waterfront, the old Mare Island shipyard, where generations of Vallejoans worked for decades. Nowadays, the city's unemployment rate is higher than the national average, and the crime rate here tops neighboring cities. So when I hear negative things happening in my town, it doesn't surprise me. But there is one thing that happened, just a short drive from the waterfront, that did surprise me. I had to go check it out. Which brings me to Wilson Park on a quiet day. This is where our hometown baseball team, the Admirals, usually light up the field, and where people have played baseball for decades. Recently, the Admirals lost $20,000 worth of equipment, including most of their jerseys. It was stolen from their clubhouse. And while the players are gone for the off-season, the team manager, BEISTEL, told me the news saddened her, but there's been an outpouring of support from the community.
A couple of stupid people did a stupid thing, and then thousands of amazing, wonderful people did amazing, wonderful things. And so no, it reaffirms what I think about Vallejo, that this is an incredible town with incredible people.
What struck me about this situation is that $20,000 is a lot of money, but the players are moving on, moving forward. And something that's special to me about my hometown are the ways people deal with bad news. For example, the farmers market turns into an uplifting social gathering, sometimes with youth spreading positivity through dance.
Vallejo's always gonna be Vallejo.
How do you mean? Tell me, what does that mean?
Vallejo's always gonna be ghetto, and there's always gonna be nonsense going around.
We know that everywhere has a bad and a good, but we try to bring the good.
You just gotta make something positive out of where you're from, and not do the negative.
Sometimes the good stuff about Vallejo can be obscured by its problems. And I don't know how to fix it all, but people here are trying. And what strengthens my resolve is that I'm part of this community. And I'm not going anywhere. For CNS, I'm Vanessa Walker.
Normally, the coastal waters near Hayward are calm and quiet, but that all changed in the middle of January. Seabirds were found covered by a rubber cement-like thick goo. The birds were picked up and taken to International Bird Rescue in Fairfield. Barbara Callahan, interim director of International Bird Rescue, said it's the worst she'd ever seen.
Some of them were so sticky with this goo that the towel on the bottom of the box stuck to their belly. And we had to pull it apart. It was very sticky.
The rescuing birds is not as simple as just washing them.
We know that cleaning process is very stressful, and if they're healthy before we go to wash, we know that they make it through the wash. It's mandatory 24 to 48 hours of medical stabilization before we evaluate them to see if they are well enough to be able to be moved through wash.
Even while washing the birds, rescuers remained stumped on what the mysterious goo could be. Rescuers of California's Fish and Wildlife Department are trying, but have so far failed to identify the goo.
It takes a lot of different tests to figure out what the substance might be, and I know there are several labs working on this.
International Bird Rescue soon learned that just Dawn and water, the normal method of cleaning oiled birds, didn't work on the mystery goo.
It didn't come off just with Dawn, and we had to change our protocols to include a pre-treating of common household baking soda, a paste of that, and then we add the warm vinegar, and that reaction helped pull this gunk off the feathers. And then we wash with Dawn.
Ultimately, the goo covered hundreds of seabirds, and the cost to International Bird Rescue, around $10,000 a day.
We're committed. This is what we do. It's our mission to care for sick and injured birds. We just don't normally have hundreds at a time unless there's a responsible party.
22 days after the spill, healthy birds are being returned to the wild, but the identity of the goo and its origins remain a mystery. For CNS, with Dina Mitchell, I'm Nigel Manuel.
This rolling green pasture north of San Francisco is home to some of the finest restaurants in the world. It's also the stage for a culinary battle. At issue, foie gras, a controversial delicacy made from fattened duck liver. California voters outlawed foie gras in 2012, but this year, a judge ruled that the food product is allowed under federal law. Now, foie gras is back. That's good news for restaurateurs like Ken Frank, owner of Toque in Napa.
It is flat out delicious. And when you have fresh foie gras to work with, it lends itself to uncountable number of delicious preparations.
Serving those preparations, however, has put Frank in the crosshairs.
You all go to hell, and I hope the restaurant burns with everybody inside. Everybody will be charcoal broiled. Go to hell, you bastards.
Matthew LIEBMAN is an attorney for the Animal Legal Defense Fund, which is using the courts, rather than threats, to prevent the sale of foie gras. He says the production of foie gras is inhumane.
It entails taking a duck, sticking a metal tube down her throat, and pumping her so full of grain that her liver balloons to 8 to 10 times its normal size.
A duck doesn't have a gag reflex. A duck has a natural ability to swallow a live, whole, spiny, pissed off, angry fish that's bigger than its head and store it in its neck while it starts to digest it.
Which means, Frank says, the ducks don't suffer.
Prior to migration, they overeat. They have an ability, a natural ability to store fat both in their liver and in their skin. When they're done migrating, the liver returns to its normal size. With no ill effects.
The fact that ducks naturally eat a little more before their migration doesn't justify force feeding them any more than the fact that some people put on some winter weight would justify force feeding them.
California's Attorney General has until February 6th to appeal the ruling. LIEBMAN says he expects the Ninth Circuit Court to reinstate the ban. If that happens, gourmands can still go to any other state in the union to buy foie gras. But that's little consolation to Frank.
At the end of the day, I can live without foie gras. But allowing a small group of very well organized, vocal advocates to make a dishonest argument and take away my choice is something I can't live with.
In Napa, for CNS, I'm Dan Steiner.
The murals of San Francisco are a worldwide attraction. Now several artists who've painted them are upset. Why? Because their art appeared in a gift calendar produced by the largest real estate company in the city.
When I found out Zephyr used my artwork in their calendar, I was offended. I was offended in a lot of ways. I think most importantly was I didn't really think that having my work connected to a real estate company was good for my reputation as an artist, as a community activist.
Saran Norris is one of 8 artists suing Zephyr Real Estate Company for using photographs of their murals without their permission in a 2013 gift calendar. Norris and others say San Francisco's escalating real estate prices are displacing community members, and that the calendar falsely implies the artists endorsed the sale of luxury real estate. Their suit claims Zephyr infringed on the right because no one asked for their permission. Brooke Oliver is representing the artists.
Murals are paintings that are protected by copyright law, so that when an artist creates a mural and paints it on the wall, it's automatically protected by copyright law. And they then are the only ones that can decide who prints it, who reproduces it, who creates derivative work.
Zephyr declined to speak on camera, but in a phone interview with Randall Kostick, its president and CEO said it wasn't their intention to offend the artists or to infringe on their work. He also says it's not fair to point the finger at a real estate company for the housing crisis. Ronald Chase is an artist who has been living in the Mission District since 1980. He agrees in part with Zephyr. He says that art naturally attracts new residents.
The Mission has all the murals that have, cover it, that make it a very, very interesting place for tourists and visitors. And then, of course, rents rise, and all of the people that want to be there move in that have much more money. It's developed, and finally the artist is pushed out. This happens in every big city where there are art communities.
Community is attached to murals. Murals are really owned by all those people in the community that support the creation of it, that support the narrative of it.
Sefer says it stopped distributing the calendar and offered a settlement that the artist declined.
We're always interested in resolving things without litigation if that's possible. And unfortunately, we were not, it was a frustrating process with Zephyr. So we're ready to go.
A judge is assigned and the case is moving forward. For CNS, I'm Gabriela Arbizu.
That's why I stay unstable. Like before, I was cool. Before I was pregnant and I have all these problems.
Like many women, Rachel Howard always dreamed of becoming a mother.
Every week is something.
I was about 26 weeks pregnant. I was on a cruise ship.
That's when her dream turned into a nightmare.
And I just went into labor and I ended up having my baby. I was in labor for about 15 hours. And the baby came out. He was about maybe a pound, 2 pounds. He lives for about 30, 45 minutes.
Raycelle's story is not unique, particularly in San Francisco's African American community, where the CDC reports that a black baby is 5 times more likely to die than a white baby. 16 out of every 1,000 is the largest disparity in the nation. At Black Infant Health San Francisco, staff is working towards countering these trends. Tatiana Pride is 16 weeks pregnant. Her baby is developing normally so far, but she knows she is not out of the woods yet.
To know in San Francisco that for black women, the death rate for their children is really high. I guess just worried that something that I'm doing might harm my child. It comes in, it causes colic.
Well, some of the main reasons why infants die are because of pregnancy-related complications. So in San Francisco, African American women especially face a lot of stress. And stress produces hormones that could trigger early labor. And as we know, preterm labor is one of the main causes of infant mortality.
Because it's tied into all the socioeconomic factors that we talked about. It's tied into income, to education, to housing issues. All of these things are issues that need to be addressed as a part of decreasing the inequity in infant mortality rates.
Alexander predicts a small decline in this trend, but says even this will take time. As for Raycelle, she finally got her wish.
Yes, I made 9 months today, so I'm there. I think I'm going to name him Caden, but my boyfriend's not too excited about that name, so I'm kind of waiting until he comes up with something.
For CNS, I'm Candace Charles.
Some nights, Keishna Hamilton puts as many as 7 children to bed, but tonight there is only one. Even though she tucks him in as if he were her own, he is actually enrolled in her 24-hour daycare center.
I've been called in the middle of the night. I've had people sing praises, and I've had one woman even cry in the daycare because she was so excited about finding somewhere that would allow her to keep her job.
Put your foot on that one right there. Recent data estimates 40% of Americans do not work the traditional 9-to-5 job. For single mothers like Natasha Sanders, finding a childcare is difficult. She is a customer sales rep at a call center.
My hours, they vary. So they could be a 9 to 5, or they could be a 3 to 11, or they could be a 11 at night till 7 in the morning, or a 5 in the morning till 2:30.
With a schedule like that, she's had to rely on Keishna's Kitty Corner for the past 7 years.
Sometimes it just got to the point to where I would want to quit working just so I can be a full-time mom until I found her.
Liberty and justice for all.
Keishna has been running her licensed day and night care center for 15 years. Her husband Eugene helps out and plays an important role, especially for those kids who have single mothers.
They really love the fact that it's my husband and I that provide that family experience that they may not be getting at home.
But offering 24/7 childcare is challenging. State support for childcare providers has been uneven. So Keishna has tried trading childcare for help at her center.
A lot of times we'll have parents come in and volunteer. So I do have some parents that are cleared to be here to help out during the day or the evenings on their off days. So that'll help, which takes a little bit off from us, which makes it a little bit more affordable for me because I don't have to have someone else come in at that point.
For many parents like Natasha, finding affordable and flexible childcare brings peace of mind.
A lot of parents out there who don't go to work and who don't go back to school to get their education because they can't afford the childcare. But I've referred a lot of people to Keishna. A lot of families that didn't even know about her, and they're really excited about it because it gives them hope.
Hope in knowing that their children will have quality care despite their parents' unpredictable schedules. For CNS, I'm Hannah Lawson.
I work for Wells Fargo. I'm a banker, and they're not letting me in to do my job. And I have like 63 foreclosures to process today. I have 32 small business loans to reject. That is a lot of paperwork.
In my theatrical work recently, I've played oligarchs, bankers, militant clowns, and other various and sundry corporate executives. I like to complain with my friends about being typecast in street theater. White guy in a suit, bad guy, that's me. Walmart, I'd like to be, we joke about someday I'll get to play the good guy.
Can I just say one thing, please? No. I really wish, really.
Last Black Friday, I turned into Sam Walton of the Walmart Corporation.
I love you all so much. I just want what's best for everybody.
I've been a practitioner of this sort of fusion of activism with theatrical methods and techniques about 20 years in social movements, labor unions, human rights groups. A lot of times what we're dealing with is the battle of the story. So we're fighting over which is going to be the dominant narrative around a certain issue, be it climate change or labor rights. Part of the battle is like, how do we, with fewer resources, tell a better, more compelling story? And we also want to earn moments for the movement where we're making our point, and people who don't agree with us will at least listen to us because we're earning a moment through being interesting, original, entertaining.
This is the big climate change demonstration rally in March. I am 1/3 of the triumvirate of gentlemen who are representing the oil industry today. 3 of us are going to be oil executives pulling a tug of war. Governor Brown's going to be in the middle, confused of what to do. Whose oil? Our oil! Our profits! Our fracking! Our governor!
Are we, with this kind of work, just preaching to the choir? Sometimes you should preach to the choir. The choir needs some love too, and encouragement. It's important that the events be enjoyable. I think there is a pleasure principle in activism, just like there is in everything else in our lives. People are attracted to something that is pleasurable. So even the most serious picket line can be turned into a play space.
For CNS, I'm Tom Goulding.
The bells of Sather Tower, also called the Campanile, have been ringing over the Berkeley campus for decades. The tower itself is 100 years old this year.
The Campanile to me means kind of the height of Berkeley. So it's like a great symbolism of all the people who've been at the school, like the Nobels, the athletes, and that great collaboration and innovation of people.
I mean, it's pretty much the symbol of the campus, you know? Even if you're a couple miles away, you're not going to miss it.
On the top floor of the tower, Jeff Davis rings bells weighing as much as 10,000 pounds.
We have 61 bells at Berkeley. The carillon is not a standardized instrument. It's more like, how many bells can you afford?
But money was no object to philanthropist Jane K. Sather, who gave Cal more than $200,000 to build the Campanile. Standing over 300 feet high, it's the tallest and could be the most famous landmark in Berkeley. Designed by famed architect John Galen Howard, the The Campanile's bells first rang in 1917. A little-known fact is that within the Campanile lie thousands of treasures belonging to the paleontology department.
This is a cervical or neck vertebra from a camel from the Ice Ages. The Campanile was close, it was open storage space, so they just piled all this stuff in there as the Campanile was being built.
To commemorate the tower's 100th anniversary, hundreds of spectators gathered to listen to a special ringing of the bells.
I thought it was fantastic. I think that it should be organized again.
I think it's celebrating how great the Carillon is. It really means Berkeley to me.
And reminded everyone of the Campanile's special place in the campus community. For CNS, I'm Alex Kekawoha with Melina Tupa.
The ball's set to go, man, but we're going to play it by ear.
I'm helping.
Try that. Really cool.
My glasses? No, right? This is like, girl, be honest. I look washed out, right? The glasses are better? Because I don't even have eyeliner on right now. Okay. Okay. We're gonna keep the glass. Okay, one more. Last shot. Now we have options. Okay.